So let's talk about the real estate market. Let's talk about what it's like being a young millennial Gen Zer in this real estate market in July of 2025. What is it like existing today as a millennial, as a Gen Zer, as just a person? But mostly I'm going to be speaking to the people that feel in limbo, more so the younger generation, basically like under 50. But this does apply to everyone and can apply to anyone if it applies to you. We're in a place where you can rent. Rents got higher and higher and higher, and landlords were being greedier and greedier and greedier. But that reached its ceiling when prospective tenants and people were like just like tapped out, like, I'm done, I can't pay, like, I will not pay this rent, people said. So there were a lot of prospective tenants in the market that had left the market, and it kind of tainted their view, outlook, enthusiasm, confidence in their ability to rent and compete in that market. The residential rental real estate market in New Jersey, speaking very broadly, has kind of really died. There's so many things to unpack. What we're dealing with in this current market, real estate market, is so many things. One of them being that income has not kept up with inflation. The increased inflation that we have experienced impacted home prices. The inflation we experienced did not apply to income. Income did not increase as fast as inflation increased. Inflation was running away, increasing at a rate so fast. Your income has stayed here, inflation, home prices have ran away here, and there's just this disparity. On top of that, we have increased interest rates that have stayed the same, hovering around this mid-6 to mid-7 range. That has made the cost to borrow higher and is an added barrier to home ownership. Because of the lack of income keeping up with inflation in this economy, it feels like incomes have significantly plummeted and decreased. And in fact, a lot of that has actually happened with mass layoffs that have happened. The right time to buy is when you can financially afford to buy, and if the deal makes sense, if the numbers make sense, and if the numbers make sense for you personally, based on your financial picture and what that looks like for you, and if the monthly payment makes sense for you, and at large, if the entire deal makes sense with regard to your goals and your priorities, because it's your life and your money, so it has to just make sense to you. And how I base that off of is with regard to everything I just said, and especially the numbers and it aligning with your goals and priorities. So in this climate, in this market, in 2025, in this economy, if you have the income, if you are mortgage qualified, if the deal, the real estate, the property, the opportunity is something you want to own, if you are aware of all of the risks and the entirety of the undertaking that you are taking on, and if you are aware of all the expenses that will be associated with the undertaking that you are taking on, then, and again, if the numbers and the financials make sense for you, it is ultimately for you to decide. If it makes sense for you, then it makes sense. In general, though, if we're asking, is now a good time to buy? Depending on your situation, here's what I would say. Is now a good time to buy? I would say let's wait it out a few months. As a realtor, it's like, yeah, I said that. But as a realtor, like, even as a realtor, whatever, I'm just me. I'm just Gianna. Even though I am a realtor, have a real estate license, like a lot of people have their real estate license, but is it a good time to buy? I would just say, let's see where the next few months take us. Okay, so this is interesting. Bill Pulte. Let's just confirm who Bill Pulte is. Bill Pulte, serving as the chairman of Fannie and Freddie since 2025, is the founder of Pulte Capital Partners as of 2011, an investment firm that focuses on home service businesses. So Bill Pulte is the grandson of William J. Pulte, the founder of Pulte Group, a national home builder in the United States. And in January 2025, Donald Trump named Pulte as his nominee for the director of the Federal Housing Finance Agency, and he was confirmed by the Senate in March. Okay, so President Trump has been putting pressure on the Fed, Jerome Powell, to lower interest rates, very much so, and Pulte has been echoing that, saying, they've both been saying that he's too late, that rates, mortgage rates, interest rates need to come down, and honestly, it's so true that interest rates being high is the thing that will move the needle, that will allow people to be able to buy. Right now, interest rates are the backstop. Based on people's incomes that have stayed constant, that have stayed the same, okay? Home prices just increase because inflation, and because sellers want to just try to put whatever price they can on it, and they think they all own Taj Mahals. Just kidding, but not. I'm actually not really kidding. Interest rates lowering will, I feel, correct and will allow people to enter the market and be able to compete. Right now, people cannot afford to buy anything if they are financing it. Basically, if you don't have cash, deals do not make sense right now. In general, I'm making very, very general statements. There are still deals to be had and deals to be made in this market, but if you have cash that, you have the tool, you have the weapon to be able to compete and make money in this market. House flipping, if you don't, house flipping, just deals in general, borrowing money, it does not make sense most of the time. Again, I believe that there are always deals to be made in any single market, in every single market, but from what I've seen and based on the data, not a lot is penciling. So anyway, okay, he's calling for Jerome Powell to resign. Did he delete a tweet about... I could have sworn that yesterday there was a tweet from Bill Pulte announcing, that Americans will be able to use their rent payments toward qualifying for a mortgage. And this is what I'm trying to bring up here. Here's the tweet. Today changes mortgages forever. The FHFA has announced that it will immediately implement the acceptance of VantageScore 4.0 for mortgages sold to Fannie and Freddie Mac. These mortgages account for the majority of the mortgages in the U.S. The decision modernizes the mortgage government-sponsored enterprises, ending decades-long lack of credit score competition to the U.S. mortgage market. It will grant millions of credit-worthy Americans the golden opportunity to own their own homes. It says this, effective today to increase competition to the credit score ecosystem and consistent with President Trump's landslide mandate to lower costs, Fannie and Freddie will allow lenders to use Vantage 4.0 score with no current requirements to build new infrastructure. This all came about, I believe, yesterday. And this morning I spoke with a mortgage loan officer and asked him, how does this move the needle? How is this different? This new legislature, and how does this impact us? The average person, the average home buyer. And they basically said it doesn't, unless you didn't have a credit score. So it basically, from my understanding, unless I'm wrong, only, from my understanding, this new legislature with the Vantage Score 4.0 only impacts people who do not have a credit score whatsoever, and allows them to utilize their on-time consecutive rent payments toward the establishment of their Vantage Score 4.0 and toward creditworthiness for their mortgage application. So basically, if you have a credit score, if you're a home buyer, if you're looking to buy a home and you already have a credit score established, this does not impact you whatsoever in any way. From my understanding, again, it's so new and I have to read through it in entirety, but That is my understanding. Now would be the time to get your ducks in a row. Is it the time to buy? If, number one, if it makes financial sense for you. Number two, if the deal and the numbers make sense and you are incredibly informed and knowledgeable of the deal and all it entails. Otherwise, now would be a really, 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 really good time to get all of your ducks in a row. Talk to a mortgage loan officer if you are not paying cash. So if you're paying cash, you're good. This does not apply to you. If you are not paying cash and you're paying with a mortgage, talk to a loan officer, work on your finances, get your credit good, pay off high interest debt, credit cards, etc., any personal loans. Don't take out any personal loans, consumer debt, credit cards. Personally, I wouldn't advise doing that anyway. This is not financial advice. Listen to some Dave Ramsey. Look up Dave Ramsey if you don't know who he is, and just Dave Ramseyify your ducks, your finances, and see where your numbers are at. Try to increase your income, run hypothetical scenarios, and see what the numbers look like and if they make sense. In my personal opinion, people should be looking at their primary residence home purchase with an investment mindset, as an investment.